Oh, in my 20s, I was out at the comedy clubs and nightclubs until 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
My Saturday nights were dreary.
Oh.
Like Cinderella, I had to stay in and scrub. Yeah. Hang the clothes out to dry, pick and pound the wheat for porridge. I am not kidding. I worked on Saturday nights. I don't think I did anything a normal young adult did.
Oh.
Yeah, when I was growing up. I mean, wow. God, I need therapy. Are you concerned about me?
I am very concerned. Woo, 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 by the way. Woo, woo, woo.
Thank you. Welcome back to Reliving Single, the official, unofficial Living Single Rewatch podcast.
Thank you all so much for tuning in and watching and listening and for all your comments and for all your true blue questions. So just appreciate y'all so much. Keep subscribing. Tell all your friends about it. How does it feel doing this experience?
Well, this is the 6th episode. And when we're doing the show itself, the first season, we did 27 episodes. That's like unheard of, by the way.
Yeah.
And people do 10 or 13. But we did 27. And it was the first season, so we were still finding our way, For this episode that we're going to talk about, I'm going to just give y'all a truth bomb. And sorry, you can send me the letters, but I didn't really dig this episode.
Why did you not like this episode? Why didn't you dig it?
Well, I called it like, this was like the freshman 15. You know what the freshman 15 is?
That's when you gain 15 pounds when you first go to college.
Yeah, I consider this basically a little flabby. Like if they cut the fat off this season, they could have cut this and I wouldn't have missed it.
Okay.
It had nothing to do with the acting or anything. It's just that I think that Yvette had to prove that this was a dating show still and that there were going to be episodes that were, just
centered around us going out and dating and meeting men.
Yeah.
Because Khadijah was about macking, remember?
Yeah, she's macking. And, that fell a little bit flat for me. And maybe that speaks to who I was. I wasn't a person that dated. And so I kind of walked through this, And that said, by the way, people love Goldie and his tooth. So it don't matter what I thought. They still dug it.
They
it
really
didn't matter,
did. They really did.
Yeah, but for me, that's how I remember this one.
Okay.
Like,
Now, when you watch it now, do you still feel that way, or have you embraced it more?
Okay, so yeah, we're kind of in a way watching these for the first time.
Yeah.
It's funny that we took 30 years, and I have to say, I actually didn't.
See,
I thought it was fun.
Right.
I thought it was fun, and I see why. I think that whatever young person I was then, the 23-year-old person I was then, didn't allow herself too much time for dating and fun. And so that's when I was sort of just like, man, we got to do something where we go to a club and some go to, action and jokes. But looking back, it's actually really funny.
It's also the reality of what I think our audience was going through at the time, and they could. That's why it's such a favorite, because people resonate with it. And as you all watch this episode, one of the things, and I'm sure we'll talk about it when we have time, is the movement that happens throughout this entire episode. We're dancing and moving the whole time.
So can I quote Julian Bond?
Yes, go right ahead.
Yeah, he had a quote when he didn't think that everything was up to snuff. He'd say, "Look at that girl shake her thing. We can't all be Martin Luther King."
That's what he said. So, and that's what you think about this episode.
That's what I said. They can't all be the ones.
Right.
And this one happens to be a good one, even if I didn't think so then.
Okay. Thank you for your honesty. Well, submit it for your approval. Living Single Season 1, Episode 6, Great Expectations. So the girls visit a local nightclub in search of their dream men, but find only nightmares. And then there's a B story happening along the lines. The men are also trying to get in the club, which is hysterical. We have Miguel Nunez as Goldie. Also, he's well known for Joanna Man. He is
and Life.
Right.
Yes, he's a fantastic actor, and he's American Dominican.
Yeah, Dominican, and I didn't know that about him, because I was like, "Where's the Nunez from?" But that's where.
Yes.
And also, I'm loving him in the show Family Business.
Yeah.
Loving him on that
Yeah.
episode. So shout out to all of our Latino, Latinx.
Yes,
Gracias
again.
por su ayuda. Gracias por su, all the above.
Yeah, gracias. Because, we were
Número uno.
in
Número
Latino
uno. Sí.
households. So we have to give them a shout out. Thank you. Poof.
Sí, claro. Sí,
Yes.
claro. It's time for the rewind, where we watch and relive living single with you.
This is pathetic. I mean, no dates, no plans, no men. We gotta get out. I'm talking about getting in the mix. Macking. You know what I'm saying? Getting with some men, not just hanging out with the girls.
Regine, help. You always hooked into something. Tell us what's going on tonight.
Well, if you're very, very nice to me, I could get you on the guest list tonight at Club Zena.
It's Saturday night and the crew is in the house again. And Khadijah's fed up and she asks Regine what to do since she's always out and about. And Regine gets them on the list of the hottest club in town, Club Zena. I guess where we met folks was out in the club.
Yeah, no, and that sets this up. I mean, when we were younger, we were analog kids.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We had to go out and meet people. You had to.
Right.
So, being bored was a whole other definition.
Right.
Nowadays, people say they're bored. I look at them like, how?
How could you be
How
bored?
could you be
It's
bored?
too
If
much.
anything, you're overstimulated.
Mm-hmm.
If you calm down a little bit, you might find out, you might remember who you are and what you're on this earth to do.
Right. Learn who you are or remember it. Yeah.
But then you really had to go out
right
to mix and mingle.
And it was fun to go out. The clubs were fun.
Yeah.
And dancing was fun. And here's the other thing too. I feel like growing up in New York and going out, there were not as many rules. Like you didn't wait for some guy to ask you to dance. You would just go out on the dance floor and just dance and grab your girlfriends and just dance and just be. I feel like it was much easier. There were less rules in that way.
Mm.
Man, you didn't
I'll take your word for it.
Okay, good. Because you were busy scrubbing and making porridge.
Making porridge.
So let's watch some more.
Well, ain't none of us gonna get no action if you don't hurry up.
All right. So, what do you think of this outfit?
That's the one. I concur.
That's good.
I better change.
Honestly, I don't know anybody that puts that much effort into getting ready.
I am everything. Everything is me.
Damn, I am a good-looking man. Come on, Kyle, quit hogging up the bathroom. Perfection takes time, my brother.
Wow.
So this is so
That's
good.
what's up.
And I love that at the same
Yeah, I
time, the
am
guys are getting ready and we're
everything.
getting ready. And we see that Regine is much like Kyle.
Yes.
Much like Kyle. Like I'm, primping and carrying on.
Yes.
And that voice.
Yes.
This is the first time we hear him sing too, isn't it?
Oh, that's true. He's hilarious. Because
Hilarious.
he's singing up in that falsetto.
Yeah. I love it.
Yes,
I love
child. He must be peaches and herb at the same time. My God. It's all about the drip.
Yeah.
I mean, come
Yeah.
on.
And
That's
the
what's
shaving
up.
of the legs. Hello. I just like a moment for me shaving my legs.
Yes. You
Yes.
really had to get up into the deep parts too.
I
sometimes.
did. Yeah, that's right.
You can't take too much down there. I want to just word to the mother. There's a reason why that hair is supposed to be on the under parts.
Do you know why?
Because it gets stuck together like gummy bears and crisscross. And if you go to the bathroom, your pee shoots out to the left. I'm not even kidding you.
The first time I got a wax, like everything off down there,
Yeah.
my pee went.
Yeah.
It's for directional purposes.
Yes. It
Completely.
keeps it. That's friction, man.
People don't know that.
People
It's
don't
there
know
for
that.
a reason.
Yeah.
Not to mention it's also a visual in case your mate doesn't know where to go. I think humans, as we develop,
Like a landing strip.
It's a landing strip.
It's
Homing pigeon. Right
yeah,
there.
right.
Right.
You're right.
Right.
Wow. We just, we gave them the keys to the kingdom with this. Absolutely. And that's the difference between how men and women get dressed right now.
Yeah.
Because we thought that the women, or, they've got to be, I guess, taking a long time, and the men must be going quicker.
No,
But
they're not.
TC is up
Please,
there
he's
grooming.
primping and prodding
My
and making
God.
himself look wonderful.
Yes, I think
and
TC
singing to himself and bigging himself up because he knows he's going to go to the club and knack. So
yes,
he's
TC
getting ready.
is like the Lola Falana of getting dressed. He was a showgirl. I mean, you know what I mean? Remember Lola Falana?
Please. One of
Yeah.
the sexiest, most amazing.
Come
And I
Shout out
I
to
used to
Lola.
love watching her as a little girl. Like she's stunning and talented and sexy and all the things.
Yeah,
love
no
Lola.
doubt.
Shout out to
Wow.
Lola Falana.
But it was a thing when you got
Mhm.
dressed. We actually made I think that we made an effort.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You pulled things up and pushed things down and
Yes.
move things around and perfume everywhere. And you
And
got
created
Yes.
landing strips all over the place of deliciousness. Woo! Come on,
and then
kids,
and
get
then
off
your breath
your
had,
phones.
your breath had to smell fresh because it's so loud in the club. You got to talk, really close
That's
to
right.
someone. Yes, so that was a big deal.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Wow.
Girl, I've been waiting on you all night.
No, baby. Maybe later, okay?
Khadijah, he was cute.
He had on makeup. What about that guy who wanted to buy you a drink? He needed some makeup.
Max, girl, you didn't introduce me to your man.
I thought you said your name was Shaquan.
Well, Max is my nickname.
Can I call you that?
No.
Are you trying to play hard to get? I see. Hey. That's a very nice dress you got on. And it's popular, too. There's a blonde over there got one on just like.
You will excuse me, won't you? Shaquan, you ain't drinking this, right?
You know, your eyes are speaking to me from across the room.
And you didn't understand. Go away. Where are the men?
The crew is at the club.
The crew is at the
And
club.
the club is at the crew, baby.
Listen, we're doing there's so much. So let's have a moment for Regine and her whip appeal
Come on. She got the whip up in.
ponytail. And I love the track of all the dresses. This is my one of a kind dress. And you find out, oh no, it is not one of a kind. You
She's-
will excuse me, won't
Yeah,
you? It's
she's-
so good.
Yeah, she's a murderer.
Murder.
Murderville on
well,
those.
I want to just do a shout out to Ellen Falcon, who later became Ellen Gittleson, our director. If you notice, this scene never stops moving, and there's no's and yeses and no's the whole scene as she, picks you up and moves you over there and moves you. Just really, when y'all have a chance, to really watch the genius of that, and the way. We're laughing at the way Khadijah's saying no, thank you, because you got to be careful how
thank you, baby.
No, thank you, baby.
No, thank you, baby.
No, baby. Maybe later, baby.
Maybe later,
Because there's a
baby. Maybe later,
science to that.
baby.
Because you don't want to make these guys mad. Because they're like, oh, you just a bitch. Like you've men will get mad at you. So no, baby, maybe later.
Maybe later,
It's
baby. She macking hard.
Macking hard.
Come
no,
on.
no,
They- people need to study.
Right.
You know, so here we have certain characteristics. Now, each character has characteristics. Khadijah is the picky one.
Right.
Max is the gold tooth magnet. Good God. Regine is wearing the same outfit as someone else,
It's like
and she is
3 other
trying to get
people.
rid of all of those dresses
All the
and get them out of
competition.
out of the club because she can't not relax
Right.
with somebody else, dressed like her. Kyle is not the ladies' man that we assume.
think him to be.
Heck
Yeah.
no. And Sinclair Overton are the same. They're awkward and they're rhythmless. That's what's up.
Well, can I tell you something behind the scenes? Is I actually asked a friend to choreograph my dance.
So you
there was this-
choreographed this.
Yes, so a guy
Awkward,
named Milo
rhythmless
Lavelle,
dance.
there was a class I was going to. He had like a fitness dance class, and he created such incredible community, and anybody could come to the class. You didn't have to, whether you're young or old or black and white. It was just he created beautiful community, and you could come and learn like the latest dance. And so there's going to be some dances you see me doing that were from that era, but I had to do them the Sinclair way. So even, that and like doubling up on each side, that was choreographed.
What
I
other,
asked
who did he work with?
Michael Jackson,
Oh.
Sandra Bullock, Diana Ross, Jessica
Michael
Alba,
Jackson, Sandra
apparently. So you have to be really good to teach someone how to dance really bad. Milo Lavelle, I'm giving you love.
And you nailed it. Because if you're supposed to dance really bad, girl, you were
Right.
good at
I
that.
said, show me what's out there, but like teach me how to do it poorly.
Yeah.
Or maybe
Well,
that's
can you
really just
still
me.
bust the move?
Oh yeah, that.
Come on, show us.
That.
Stand, show us.
No, the knees are bad.
No,
so I
show-
can't. I can
okay.
do this. I can do this.
Let's see
and I
it.
can do that. You
Okay.
do this. It's
Yeah.
always.
So you can't
I can't
bust
yeah.
the move no more. All right, great.
At least I'm not at home Saturday nights making
No, at
porridge.
least it's, archive.
I've got rhythm, but I don't,
How are we supposed to know?
because I'm doing it.
Really?
Put some music on. Let me do I'm doing
She's trying to prove to us she has rhythm. At any point, We're open to it.
If you play a beat, let me catch the beat. So Milo, I'm giving you love. I got it. I lost it. If you never said, we're gonna go to break right now, and I'll see y'all back in just a moment.
Yes, you tore it up, girl.
I haven't had this much fun since Jeremy James's 80th birthday, okay? Word. Grammy was kicking, wasn't she?
$212.87 of dress shot to hell.
She's a salty because she ain't hook up with anybody like I did. Well, Maxine, I can't believe you gave Goldie your number. I thought you said you didn't like him.
I gave him a number, all right. Just wasn't mine.
Yo, Shaquan, telephone.
Goldie? No, this Shaquan's sister Sabuda.
So the crew has survived the
Right.
club.
We
And
come home jubilant. We had a great time.
Yes.
You know, even though it was messy.
singing I Will Survive by the great Gloria Gaynor.
Please.
You know, despite everything,
Right.
that it's an epic night.
it's an
Because
epic
they went
night.
through
We had-
hell, but it doesn't matter.
we wanted to have fun and we had it. So maybe it didn't turn out the way we like. She wanted to Mac. I just wanted my Obi. You
wanted my
unfortunately had to
Obi.
deal with Goldie. I had Obi. You had Goldie. But we still had fun.
Yeah.
And I imagine that we had a few cocktails because I felt a little tipsy.
And they probably picked that song because true to, you know, the character of Khadijah, I Will Survive.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
you know, that's what she would pick to
Right.
sing
Strong
on an open
and fun.
mic.
Right.
Yeah, strong.
And
fun.
it's also a crowd pleaser. You put that song on any day, anytime, in any group, they're going to sing and dance and enjoy. And everybody can remember the lyrics, and it was
Yes.
great. And then Regine tells us that her dress was $213.12, which is equivalent to $474 today.
Woo.
I have to say, I'm not sure that looks like a $474
It
dress.
does not to me.
Okay, good. Just check.
Not to me,
But
but
maybe she bought it at a boutique and
she
you know,
got scammed.
she got it. Didn't look like $213
No.
worth of dress either.
Yeah.
But she made it look good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's
right.
cutie pie.
Stylish.
You know.
Please, that little
But
figure.
That was a
please.
Kmart blue light special. to
For
me.
sure, for sure.
Yeah.
for
So
sure.
okay, girl, we got to talk about the elephant that's in the room.
Who's the elephant in the room?
Well, let's talk about Miguel Nunez.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't always.
Who
but
was
he
the
wasn't
original?
The original Goldie when we started rehearsing
No.
this.
Who was the original Goldie? Eddie Griffith.
Yeah.
And he lasted a couple of days, right? I think a couple
Yeah.
of rehearsals.
Yeah, and we know Eddie Griffith. So Eddie Griffith is from Malcolm and Eddie.
Right.
Fantastic comedian.
Great comedian.
With genius.
Edgy, funny,
beautiful.
political.
Yeah.
And like, intense. Very quick. Great
Yeah.
writer.
Yeah.
Um,
he did Undercover Brother, Meteor Man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Funny. And what was the reason he didn't work for this episode and he was let go? Do you want to share?
well. See, what had happened was they didn't think that he would be reliably able to say the lines they wrote.
So let's break that down.
Yeah.
Because he's a genius, a comedian.
Improvisation,
Right. And I mentioned it on an earlier episode about Steve White, who came in with new ways to tell the jokes. When the production company comes down and watches the rehearsal, they want to hear the words that the writers have written.
Yeah.
And Eddie was coming up with new lines and coming up with new stuff and making it hot, making it fresh, making it new, but they still needed to hear those words. And
Yeah.
they didn't trust that he was ever going to do those words.
Right. And we should say that this is our take on it because that's what I
Right,
remember.
right,
So,
right.
Yvette may say something different, and that's
Mhm.
fine, but that's what I remember.
Right.
That it wasn't sort of jiving. I mean, and for writers, if it's your first season, especially, anxiety is their
Yeah.
love language.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
They're
Right.
balancing a lot more
Right.
than we can even fathom.
That we can even know.
And so they
yeah.
want to make sure that,
make sure the
certain
jokes land the way they wrote them.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's a fantastic improvisationalist. And he was also, I think, playing the room At least
Oh, yeah.
I remember that
Yeah.
each time he would do something different, he was also finding it for himself and
Right.
seeing where he'd land.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
That's great. But because we were in our first season,
Yeah.
because it was sort of new, it wasn't new. This is our 6th episode, right?
Yeah,
I think that they weren't.
But we're new in the
Right.
first season,
Right.
6 episodes in. That's not a lot.
Not at all. And I
Yeah.
think that they were nervous about it. And I don't know that they should have been, because Eddie is great. He's fun and funny, but they weren't sure that he could do what they needed him to do.
That's what I remember.
Right.
And that's what
Yeah.
we're told. But, making the transition from comedian to
Yeah.
ensemble is a thing.
It's a
Not
thing.
everybody does it all at
No.
once. Sometime
Not everybody does it at all.
at all.
Right.
He did it.
Right.
There's
Yeah,
no
he
doubt
finally
about it.
did. He finally did.
Of course did.
Yeah.
But it's not for everybody. And so let's talk about the difference between the stand-up
Yeah.
world and sitcom.
Right. So the beauty of the stand-up world is you're performing your own material. And even if you have friends who co-write with you or people who write for you, because a lot of comics have people who write for them, you're still a singular performer on stage, and you are in control of everything. I think ultimately the audience is working with you or not, but you have your content, your material,
Your own material
your
that
own
you've
style.
written. Yeah.
And no one is directing you,
No.
you're correcting the lines. And again,
Yeah.
if you're really listening to an audience, you will make adjustments and ultimately you're working with them. But so there's that. And then you come to the sitcom world where the words are on a page and you have to take the words that are on the page and make them
Yeah, it's pretty
magical.
relentless.
Right.
Yeah, and the demands of it are that you're basically learning a new play a week.
Every week.
And the guest stars have it a lot more, there's a lot more pressure on them
Agreed.
to stick the move, like stick the landing.
Right.
You come in and the precision of it is you're supposed to, again, get cast like probably a day or two or maybe a
Mhm.
week before, and then come into a new cast that's getting to know each other or knows each other very well, and then find their rhythm and then do your thing and do it each time with new lines and everything else.
Right.
And
right.
it's not always an easy transition.
And it might have been, and it'd be interesting to find out timing wise if Eddie had done any of that yet, had done any guest starring on any other shows yet, and had yet found his way to, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do in this moment.
Yeah.
He probably thinks they hired me to be me, and they hired me because I'm me. It's a fine dance.
And they
So
did
it's a
hire
fine-
him because of,
Oh, yeah.
they hired us for us.
Yeah.
And so there are a lot of wonderful people who've made that transition. And you're like Ray Romano, Bernie Mac, Red
Yes.
Fox, Bill Cosby, Wanda Sykes, Monique, Amy Poehler,
John Hinton, Kim
the
Coles.
Wayans family,
Yeah.
the entire Wayans family.
And I'm glad that even though he didn't stay on our episode, he figured he went on to have a show named for him.
Stunning,
Right.
nothing. I mean, he's just brilliant. I'm
Yeah.
just saying that for people to know that there's all these sort of moving
Things happening behind the
yeah,
scenes.
these moving wheels and turning wheels, and that happens.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And
lots of love.
Lots of love to Eddie. Lots of love to Miguel Nunez.
Nunez.
Yeah, and then even the way he turned his mouth so that you could see the glint on his,
Ding.
right. It was so good. When he got to go to the bathroom, the way he did, it was if you watch the movement, that this episode never stops moving. Even at the end when we come home.
Oh, that's
What else
true.
is going on
Yeah.
in this episode?
Well, I think we're getting ready to do the reverb.
Let's do it.
Reverb.
This is The Reverb, our time to reflect on the episode's themes and how they still echo throughout the culture.
And I gotta say, that was awesome, but that was also tame. The living single
course.
version of Clubs was very tame.
Right.
Because it was sanitized and all that. But what it was really like was, well, first of all, we were defined by what we didn't wear.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't wear gold because you got jumped.
I'm wearing.
You got
I'm wearing
jumped
gold.
if you wore
Oh,
bling.
you mean gold chains?
Gold
Oh,
chains.
yeah.
You
yeah.
did. And the shoes, you also got jumped for your shoes. So you always took care, like if you had Jordans or any of those things.
Left that at home.
You get jump colors, like there were gang cultures. You could go red or blue if you were in Los Angeles and what you couldn't wear. There was the crack era. You didn't just go out. You had to, navigate through this minefield of, of dark spaces
Right.
and that type of
and
thing.
where to go that's safe and how to
Yeah.
get there. Yeah.
Yeah, and it really affected nightlife because people go now to New York and they see like all this great bright lights in Disney, but it was a
Oh,
lot
it
of
was-
prostitution
no.
and it was dangerous
It was
to go
dark
out. It really
corners, right,
was.
right.
And so we wore, I would say we, a lot of guys wore Timberlands. Timberlands just weren't a fashion statement. They were also a weapon. You kick the shit out of somebody. You hear me? I mean, really take them out. But that was just the vibe of it. And I'm not trying to be down. I'm just trying to say, hey, it was pretty dark. And a lot of things smelled like smoke and vomit. Remember smoking? Remember smoking and
yes.
the kid,
And
the
smoking
clothes.
in the club, smoking on planes, smoking everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah,
And the
yeah.
clothes were synthetic and they were tacky and the food was gross and unhealthy. I mean, really, listen, it was with all that time of our lives. Everybody was creating new things and that type of thing. And those clubs were also fostering the careers of these great artists. We were all mixing together. But it was one of the reasons I didn't go out. I didn't go out because I didn't like any of that.
Right.
So it wasn't just that I was working and that type of thing. I wanted to avoid some of the minefields.
Right. I wasn't going out there.
But you did go out because you're a comedian.
I was going to comedy clubs. So for me, from the perspective of going to comedy clubs, there was opportunity. There were, a lot of these nightclubs, like on a Tuesday night or on a Monday night when they were dark, they would just throw up a microphone and it became a comedy club. So these opportunities became, these rooms now became, movable feasts. You became something different. So you could go and perform and you could go and, I remember my ex-husband and I and a group of other guys did a show at the Limelight. Do you remember the Limelight? It was a church in Manhattan
Yes.
that they converted into a
To
nightclub.
a nightclub. And I thought that was so unholy.
It was unholy and a full-on church.
Full-on
They
church.
just gutted
Stained
out the
glass windows
pews,
and everything.
all of it.
Yeah.
In fact, there were some pews along the side, and we did a comedy night there once. And so that you could just pop up and do your thing. And so I'm not aware, maybe because I was performing, I wasn't aware of the danger of it. Here's what it is. Getting to these places was what was dangerous. There were no Ubers. You either hopped on a train or if you had the money
That's
to take
what
a cab.
I mean.
Right.
Meaning the getting there.
Okay, got it.
That's
got
why
it.
people traveled like that. You
Right.
didn't want to be accosted.
And Times Square, like you said, it was not, Disneyized yet. It was still really grungy and really dirty. But so going out was a risk.
And I think that if I had been a comedian, that would have been a great time because you think about Eddie Murphy and Steve Harvey and tell us who was out there.
So the people I was encountering at that time. So I'm like the generation that's like right behind Eddie Murphy. So Eddie Murphy, I got to give him his flowers, was, the one that we all went, oh my goodness, this is possible for all of us, especially for Black comics. Black comedy in particular exploded. But, and that's why I say that, restaurants were saying on Monday night, we have a comedy night. They just throw up a brick wall and a microphone and there you were. So my time was, Joy Behar from The View was
Yeah.
doing stand-up. Rosie O'Donnell, Phyllis Yvonne Stickney,
remember
Ellen
Phyllis?
Cleghorn, who doesn't get the flowers she deserves.
No, she doesn't.
Jetta Jones
Come
and, Angela Scott and a whole bunch of other girls. And here's what's interesting about being a Black woman in that space. This is before Monique. This is certainly before Tiffany Haddish.
Wow.
The clubs were such, first of all, they're very male-dominated spaces and they're very white spaces. And so if you were a Black woman at that time, it was almost as if they would only let one in to be like a regular on the roster.
Really that
Yeah.
night or just like
Or even like to be on the roster. So you would get one and maybe another one. And so you sort of had these, I would say, silos where so-and-so was the queen of Caroline's and somebody else was the queen at Catch a Rising Star and somebody else was the queen at Dangerfields. And we almost never got a chance to perform together because they would only let one in at a time.
wow.
So that's how, Phyllis Yvonne Stickney was up in Harlem performing. I eventually got into Caroline's because another Black woman, she opened the door for me. Her name is Angela Scott. When that campaign that Tom Joyner did to keep us on the air, Jetta Jones was with him at that time. So, part of
okay.
that morning
Wow.
crew. There was not just a handful of us. And so we had to create a sisterhood, but also understand.
Was Marsha Warfield or any of these people?
Well, Marsha had come before us.
Okay.
Marsha had come before us. I'm talking about like in New York at that time. So when
Okay.
someone like a Marsha would come through, it was like a queen has arrived.
It's
But
amazing.
but
So that
before our
type of
time.
discrimination didn't stop many of y'all from succeeding, but
No.
it to me is a huge obstacle that people didn't know were there.
No.
They had no idea.
And sometimes they would let one Black girl and that's it. And so you have to hope and pray. Like next
Wow.
time, can it be me?
Yeah, because
And-
from the outside, we were seeing all these things happen. We
Right.
were seeing hip hop mixed with comedy create like these self-published artists who were entrepreneurial, who were getting along. But it shows that the discussion really wasn't happening as fluidly or as equitably for women
not at all.
and
not at all.
for Black women.
And then
not at
you'd
all.
get
Yeah.
I have to mention Robin Montague too, who's a friend who now is writing on the Sherry Shepherd show. So there's also great women, great men who were performers at that time, who were doing well at that time, who've now transitioned into writing.
I was about to say that.
Yeah. And so they found their way by still performing live, but also by being behind the scenes and writing too. Wanda Sykes was a part of the next level that came up, or she came from I think Chicago, and then there's a lot of
Well, we
folks.
wouldn't have, I think, American television if it wasn't for the working comedians. Because
Oh,
if you're just looking
please.
back in the 50s and all of that, they were always on there, using their brand of I don't know, whether for their life's work and the material,
Right.
but their affability.
their point of view. So you're talking Flip Wilson, Bill Cosby,
my goodness.
Richard Pryor,
Pryor,
George Carlin. Keep going.
Yeah.
All of the people. Listen, if you want to study American television, American comedy, Laugh-In.
Yes,
that
yes.
presentational.
Yes.
Jerry Lewis, stand up
Yes.
comedy, and could then turn it into acting. Create characters around
And
it.
here's something that people don't really know is that you're coming into people's homes every week.
Mhm.
And that right there is a special invitation. It's like a vampire invitation. You have to be allowed.
Right, it's true.
You're saying, will you let me in? And they say yes. And then
Mhm.
once they get there,
Yeah.
they try to get stuck to you,
Right.
sink in.
Mhm.
And it's a great compliment if people say, I love that person so much. I watch them each week.
Yeah.
Whereas a movie, you might watch that one movie. You might,
Mm-hmm.
movie stars, they build these sort of huge franchises sometime.
Mhm.
And their personas sort of precede the movie itself.
Oh, for sure.
But for this, you're saying your likability and the way you make me feel is the reason why I let you in each week.
Right.
It's a very
Yeah.
sacred, hollow space.
So, so there was
Shout
a,
out.
a different club experience for me.
Yeah, but there was a club experience. Nowadays, we have generation relaxed. They're sitting around in their sweats. They're looking and scrolling their phone and gaming and all that kind of stuff. And then when they do get to parties, they take a lot of pictures and they'll be texting right next to each other.
I know.
I'm like,
I know.
what
It's so
is
cute.
going-
Like, hey, what's going to
That's
have a
cute.
conversation? It's
I am
cute.
horrified. I keep just thinking, wow,
Like,
this
you don't
is
know how to
the
relate
end
to each other.
times.
Yeah. They
Come
don't know how to
on.
relate to each
It
other.
is the end times. How do you breed? I mean, let's be real.
Well, I'm sure they'll figure
Somebody
it
got
out.
to pull out something at some point. You know what I'm saying?
Well, they'll have to learn. I'm sure it's cyclical. They're gonna have to
It's
figure out.
cyclical?
Well, somebody's having babies, aren't they? Don't act like the
Well, no.
civilization's gonna end.
I'm not, but I do think that there's an important mating dance that happens when you get all dressed up like a peacock and then you start
Right.
strutting around. And in a way, we are animals and we strut around and go,
Maybe a little bit later, baby. Maybe
yeah,
later, baby.
later, baby. And that's us showing off our wares.
Okay.
You know?
So how do they show off their wares? We have to have someone on the show and ask them how they show their wares.
They don't. They send you a text. And then they look at the text and then they analyze it. So should I text back? Is it too quick?
Aw,
I mean, or not at all. Not tonight. What? Send a pic? No. A heart emoji? No. Too much. Too soon. Maybe a check. I mean, give me a break. I'm glad. Listen, I didn't go out, and maybe that's what I was,
What
trying
you're
to avoid.
avoiding, right?
But if I did, I'm not going to dance on the wall. I'm
Right.
getting out in the middle of the floor. Like you
That's
said, with
where-
your girlfriends, you
Right,
get out
just
and you
grab
show
a
out.
girl and dance. Grab a guy and dance. Right.
First, I was afraid. I was petrified. So
Petrified.
yeah, so we're gonna give a shout out to fashion and Harold Kanai, Cross Colors, FUBU, Gazals. Go on, keep
Oh,
going. with that.
Gazelles, Adidas, and Lee jeans, and
Yes,
name tags. And
name tags.
I don't think some of these brands did not know. We were just talking about Gazelles, which in New York we called them gazelles. You go with your gazelles.
Gazelles.
These brands didn't know that young Black
Nope.
culture was going to take over. Ralph Lauren didn't know that Tommy
Some of them
Hilfiger
didn't, yeah.
was not expecting. It was unexpected that we would take this sort of preppy brand.
And it took a while for them to even recognize, not cross colors or say FUBU. That was made
No, of
for
course. I'm
people.
talking about these other preppy brands like Ralph Lauren, Tommy Hilfiger, and Cazals, which was an Italian eyewear brand and became
and Adidas.
Adidas.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
It's and Lee
Became,
jeans.
come
Remember
on.
Lee jeans?
Right.
My
Sturdy,
gosh.
wonderful, dungarees that, cowboys used to wear. And now they become the fashion.
Yeah, and we set our hair on curlers and the
Absolutely.
pink moisturizing lotion.
I'm sorry, Lusters. If you it would make your hair stink after a night or two. You go out to the club, the Lusters pink oil moisturizing. Yeah,
Who decided it to look like Pepto-Bismol?
I don't
And we sit up there
know, but
going,
it was
look,
stink.
it's pink, it must work.
right.
Like
You won't remember
what?
this, but we did a campaign, and we did something with another. Okay, I won't tell you who. TV1, and they were a sponsor, and they had it all on the
that's
tape.
right.
And we
I
had
was
to
there.
do a little thing, and you were like, Do we have to touch it? Do we have to actually
I
put
didn't
it
want
on?
it in the shot.
No,
and the
no,
reason was because I didn't use it.
Right.
And to
Right.
me, I was
remember.
just sort of saying, and it was no shade.
Right. No, it's just like why am I promoting this and am I getting the check? No, the check is paid for the show.
Yeah, and the Jerry curl was on the reel. By the way,
Did you ever have
some
a Jerry
of the
curl?
greasiest people in the world was dancing on the dance floor, just grease all down their back.
And dripping on you when they shook the stuff.
Yeah,
right?
you know?
I never. Did you have a Jerry curl ever?
No,
Never.
I did. My
I
brother did. Bless him. My brother did.
Your hair was moisturized though,
Well,
and
yeah.
grew.
Yes, and your pillowcase was brown and wet. I mean, it was just nasty. Black stockings, right?
Mini
Yes.
skirts and
Miniskirt.
so much Vaseline.
Vaseline
on your
everything,
lips,
on
on
your
your
lips,
hair, on your edges, on your everything.
Yes, we put it everywhere.
Everywhere. And Vaseline's back now in a big way. Like they're using it as real skincare. Like, put on your skincare products. And I think they call it slugging or slogging or something. You put that on over to lock in everything. And your skin
Wow.
does not breathe ever again.
No,
Right.
It
But you're
doesn't need
shiny,
to,
but you're shiny.
because you're locked in.
Glass skin,
Yeah,
big
yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Wow,
We
what
had
a
it.
thing. Yeah,
What a thing.
good times.
Good times. And the sweating. The sweat, I would sweat out my my little perm, like, your edges would just sweat out. You spent your time sweating out.
Yeah.
And at the end of the night, you throw it all up in a ponytail.
Well, I
and
sweat
call it
out
that.
because I didn't have a perm. And so it just, that's one of the reasons why I started wearing braids. It's because you're right. It would just go back and it was,
yeah.
Or
go flat.
They used to say, one time we went to, in 8th grade, we went to Disney World.
Mhm.
Go to Florida and have natural hair.
Oh,
and
my
the girls
God.
spent all night pressing my hair. And I was in between there, and no one had ever done that for me like that. Pressing my hair and putting it in these, they call boo-boo braids. When I woke up, that thing had shrunk back. And they said, they started laughing. You got that African hair.
Oh,
You got that
wow.
African stuff. And I was listening to them like, what do they mean? I didn't know really about relaxers that much. And that's when I learned that their hair stayed straight because of that.
Right.
And I started doing that. And then I let it go because I realized my hair was too fine and I didn't like the way it looked. But no, I mean, it was, yeah.
Quite a time. Quite a
Yeah.
time. Well,
That's crazy.
so,
Well, but by the way, rap was big and everybody wanted to be a rapper and I did too.
yeah, and so do you have a mixtape to share with us?
Me? You mean my rap demo tape?
Yes.
Me and Caramelina White, Charmaine. Yeah, we had a demo deal. We did.
Wow.
Yeah, we rapped.
And what was the
we
name of
rapped.
the group again?
We were called The Players, and she was Treble K and I was Bass E.
Treble K
Yeah.
and Bass E.
And I rapped because I wanted to get more acting jobs. Believe it or not,
Okay.
if you rap, you can act more.
I love this. So you wanted to be multifaceted, and you knew that there would be another
No,
door
I was no, I didn't want to be multifaceted. I became multifaceted so I could get more
Wow.
acting jobs. You know what I'm saying?
That's great thinking.
At the
That's-
time,
yeah.
I wanted to maybe be a writer, but I didn't want to be a rapper. But I saw all the rappers getting the jobs.
You're like,
so I
let's
said,
do this.
man, you know what? Why not? And so yeah, our album was going to be called "Payback's a Bitch." I'm not even kidding you.
Do you-
Lights, cameras, action. No.
Come
You know what?
on.
It's too early. It's too early in the
In the season?
Yeah, you gotta earn that.
Well, I
You gotta
want
earn
everybody to write in and let us know if you'd like to hear a little bit of bass E.
Face E.
Oh gosh.
Let's do True Blue, where
True
we hear from
Blue.
our friends, our family, our fans.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Amber, what do you have?
All right. So we have a question from Nicole M. And she says, "Hi, Erica, Kim, and crew." Okay. Hey,
Hi,
girl.
Nicole.
She says, "It's great to hear your perspective on the show 30 years later. I'm curious about the ages of the characters compared to the life stages portrayed in the show. It was the 90s, and I know that there were successful young Black people in the world back then as there are now, but I can't help but notice the characters are all in their 20s, but they seem to have achieved a lot by their ages. What was the motivation for this, and was it intentional to have the characters feel ageless even though they are in their 20s?
Fabulous.
And she's saying that we were in our 20s, but we seemed accomplished for our. Well, how old do you think Max was?
I made her me, so she was 23. But
And she would have finished
there
law
was
school.
no
and
way
be-
that.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think she
And-
might have been more like a 26-year-old
Yeah.
or 27.
So she
maybe
was
26.
super smart, got out of law school, and because she was at a Evans Bell and Associates, so she was at a top law firm. And would
Yeah.
she have had that by 26?
I think
About
she
that time.
might have. Well, hey, she definitely would have had a law degree, but I just don't know if she would have been as accomplished. So part of me wanted to say that she might have skipped a grade or two.
Yeah.
And my mother started me early to kindergarten at 3 because
So
I have a late birthday.
Mhm.
So let's just say maybe Max was a little bit older, but not much.
Okay.
Because let's just say that she's a really great student,
Mhm.
and she was pushed along. And
Right. And
and-
was driven and
yeah, very ambitious.
Mhm. I'm going to say that Sinclair was 25. I was really 30, 32 or something like that.
Mm.
And I don't know that I would be considered the most driven or ambitious at that time when at least
Well,
in
if it was
season
about
one.
trolls,
Right.
you'd be
Then
queen.
I'm in.
Yvette Lee Bowser had
She
accomplished
wrote it
a
that
ton.
way. Yeah.
And she was about 28 or 27,
right.
28.
I remember going to visit her at her house when we were working on this show. And I remember looking around and going, she has it decorated beautifully. I mean, she was making good money because she was a writer on these shows. And it was decorated beautifully. It was, very much her. It was very, girly and cute. And she seemed to really have it together. And so I think she's somebody who may have, blossomed early and was really driven and wanted to.
She's very driven, very
right,
ambitious.
super smart. Went to Stanford.
Super smart.
So she infused that into these characters. So why wouldn't Khadijah come out of college and, I don't know where she got the money to start the magazine, but she was like, I'm
Yeah.
going to start something and I have, so it's
So I think it
possible
comes
to-
from
yeah.
their creator.
Yeah,
The
there it is.
Frankenstein monster comes from Dr. Frankenstein. So we
Right.
must look to Yvette Lee Bowser, who has given them her characteristics.
Right.
And that didn't seem that's not far off from who
no.
she was.
And not far off for us to have witnessed that or experienced that, meaning like we knew people in our world who were driven and smart. Like, Kyle exists. Kyle
Bowser. Barker.
exists,
Yeah.
right? That guy, maybe we didn't see a lot of him on Wall Street or wherever he was working. We didn't see a lot of him, but he was possible.
And the truth of the matter is that we exist. We
Yeah.
were really ridiculously accomplished
yeah.
at
yeah.
very young ages.
Yeah.
Because many people started doing stand up and I mean, this kid, let me tell you a little bit about Kim Coles here. You were president of your high school.
I was president of the class of 80 all 4 years.
All 4 years.
but
not playing.
But not because I had been particularly political or smart. It was because I made them laugh. The school that I
but
went
that's
to,
ambition.
right. Well,
You had to run and you had to make them laugh. You had to perform.
right.
I mean, who can say all 4
and
years?
and created a community of kinds.
I
yeah,
mean,
all 4 years.
basically, you
And it
were
was
like
a huge.
authoritarian dictator that held them hostage for
And I
4 years.
graduated with 1,000 people, so that was no small feat.
No, so I'm gonna give you props. And
Okay,
then you
thank
went
you.
on, and then you went to college a few places, but you were also VP then, to William Bishop Barber of the Poor People's Campaign, one of the baddest,
I love that
moral
moment.
leaders in the
Yeah,
country.
very much so.
And winner of the Genius Award and all, the MacArthur Genius Award. And y'all were together as a pair.
Right, at NCCU.
Yeah, that's no joke. And then you have, we already talked about the resumes of everyone coming in.
Right.
And certainly Yvette Lee Bowser had. And I think that if you look at it, maybe that's why birds of a feather flock together.
So we're comparing what was going on in the 90s to what's available now. Here's what's really cool about this generation and what's available to them now. You have the World Wide Web. You can have an idea, launch a website, launch products and ideas so easily. There's less impediment to creating things if you have the ideas. You can just create it and make it. You can, make a logo on Canva and then you're up and running. I'm not saying that it's easy.
No.
I'm saying that it's doable.
Right.
And if you have the wherewithal, if you have the drive to do something, you don't have to have a brick and mortar, is what I'm saying, in order to have something, create something and something new. And whether or not you finish your schooling or whether or not you have, and I do think that they have less money than we do, because that crash of 2008 really messed things up. But I do think that if you have ideas and have ambition, there are ways to get yourself up and rolling and
But
started.
I push back against that more money, because more money does not make a miracle. In order to make a miracle, you have to get out there and create.
That's what we have in
And
common.
That's Generation X is one of the most creative generations, because for whatever people think we had a ton of unrest and wars and things like that. And people think we had jobs and all of that, but I think that there was a really great renaissance in America just after 93 building. There was a lot of issues that came up, mass incarceration, but America started to work a little better. So I'll give people that there was a sense of hope and people were buying homes and that type of thing. I don't think if I was an actress, I would be able to buy that. And I certainly was not Max. I have a high school degree. I'm not a lawyer. But I think that the more I look back on anything that helped me, every time I took advantage of the independent spirit, my whole career moves. And to this day, I'll be sort of, in a lull period, and then an independent thing will come on and poof, it's like rocket fuel, and send me up. And I just keep thinking that we need people to understand that you have all the tools.
It comes from within first. It has to come from within.
And so, so manage, don't manage your expectation around anything that you see.
Right.
That you think that you won't get because you don't have this or that.
And make use of the time that you're in. So, people watching us are comparing their lives now to this, this show. And it was created to have all those pieces in place so that we had that in common in different, like I said, in different levels. Maybe I wasn't as driven as Khadijah, but there was something there. And so you look at it for entertainment and look at it and go like, what of this could I have myself, rather than comparing the ages and the stages. And I've said to you all before, I was a little bit older than you all, but at 23, I was just getting into the comedy clubs, just starting to perform. I had gotten married. So I didn't think that I had some other things in place. So to take what you have in place and work what you got.
Yeah. But to be clear, they're also selling a lifestyle.
Yeah.
That was the beginning of selling an influence. You know what I mean? Like you had to floss, and all the rappers had all this stuff and cars, and they didn't own none of it.
And
they didn't own
and the diamonds weren't always real.
Yeah,
or they were borrowed.
Or they were borrowed.
Yeah,
that type of a thing. So again, a lot of that is a mirage.
Yeah,
what's in front of you is your mind. Feed that. And then take yourself across the street and go learn about your neighbor, and then go cross 2 more streets. To me, that's real wealth. And that's where you get your ideas, but more importantly, that's where they can find you. You gotta move. You gotta. Because when you move, the world moves.
You want some of this hot action?
This hot action. This is a hot ticket.
You want some of this hot action? You want some of this advice and wisdom and wise, sage information? Send us your emails. You got it easy, kids, and learn that now. Get out in the streets like we did.
Yeah.
I'm a boomer, so I got a whole other thing. Go to Reliving Single Podcast at heartbeat.com. Write us, and we too will break your hearts and break your spirits like we just did. You'll be
Drag
fine,
your
kids.
dreams.
You think you have it hard? We had it hard too. And guess what? Here's what's cool. Every generation thinks that they have it harder than the generation before. That's cyclical. That's real. Everyone thinks that they had, like, this is the worst. You had it so easy.
Until you get a load of Harriet Tubman.
Right.
I'm cool right where I am. I don't know about y'all, but I'm good. Refrigeration and flushing toilet, baby.
Come
I got
on
a
now.
shot.
It's not so
Little
bad.
penicillin. Hey, we can do this. I can have sex without a thought.
Right. But with a condom.
With a condom.
My generation, my generation is the last generation that could do it without a condom.
It's true.
Like,
We didn't mention that, by the
we
way.
didn't, no.
Condoms was the other thing we were wearing.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, we were wearing them to prevent pregnancy, but not disease.
No, well, we were.
Yes.
Let me tell you something. We were wrapped in saran wrap up in this mouth.
Right.
That's real. I mean, I was so afraid of. Come on. Woo. We could do pussy stories later.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching Reliving Single, the podcast.
Yes.
Tune in next week. Tune in every week. Tell your friends. Tell several friends. Let's get these numbers up. And you can find us on all the socials at Reliving Single Podcast. Everywhere. YouTube, Spotify,
Yes,
Apple.
all of
Yeah,
that.
you all
Yes.
know that already.
Yes.
Tell your people.
Yes.
Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I can't believe you rapped.
Yeah, I did a lot of things.
Oh,
Yeah, I
what?
stripped too.
Oh, what do you mean stripped?
I did. Hollywood stripped the soul right out of my body.
You're such
right
a
out of
tease,
my
Erica.
body.
You're such a
Yes,
tease.
I am. A little bit.
Mhm.
A little bit.
Reliving Single is hosted by Erica Alexander and me, Kim Coles. Reliving Single is a production of Heartbeat in association with Color Farm Media. Executive produced by Kevin Hart, Jeff Clanigan, Eric Eddings, Leslie Guam, Erica Alexander, and Ben Arnon. This show is produced by Kim Coles. Amber Watson is our senior producer. Our associate producer is Kenny Jackson. Our sound engineers are Eric Hicks and Cedric Wilson. Production supervision by Razak Boykin. Additional production support from Alex Atkins and Z Taylor. And a special thanks to Dr. E.J. Johnson.